Most people assume that being alone means being lonely. But for highly intelligent people, solitude isn't a punishment, it's oxygen. They don't withdraw because they dislike others. They withdraw because they're most alive when they're alone with their thoughts. And if you relate to that, there's a psychological explanation behind it. In this video, we're going to break down why solitude feels like home for intelligent minds, what it reveals about emotional depth, and why the world often misunderstands people who prefer their own company. Section 1. The silent advantage of solitude. Studies show that intelligent people experience less satisfaction from constant social interaction than the average person, not because they're antisocial, but because their brain is wired for internal stimulation. Most people need noise to feel alive. Intelligent people need space. They get something in silence that others can't get even in crowds. Clarity. While others chase distraction, they chase understanding of themselves, of life, of the world. Section 2. Deep thinking needs quiet. Higher intelligence comes with a side effect, the busy mind. Ideas, questions, theories, possibilities, constantly running in the background. To explore them, they need silence. Because deep thinking isn't a social activity. You can't introspect in a group. You can't analyze your emotions in a crowd. You can't question life's meaning in small talk. Solitude becomes the container for their mental world. Section 3. Small talk feels draining. Intelligent people don't hate conversation. They hate surface-level conversation. They can't pretend to care about gossip, social games, or meaningless chatter. Not because they are arrogant, but because their mind is wired for depth. They crave conversations like why people behave the way they do, why society is the way it is, how things can be improved, what drives human emotion, what their purpose is, how reality works. When the conversation lacks substance, boredom hits fast, and the desire to return to solitude kicks in. Section 4. Emotional self-sufficiency. Intelligent people have something rare, an inner world that entertains them. They don't rely on constant social stimulation to feel whole. Their curiosity, creativity, and imagination keep them occupied. This is why they can go on long walks alone, sit in cafes alone, travel alone, work alone for days, be at peace without noise. They don't fear being alone. They fear being surrounded by people who make them feel alone. Section 5. Lower need for social validation. Most people live socially, through approval, acceptance, comparison, but intelligent people tend to have a weaker dependency on external validation. Their validation is internal. Am I learning? Am I improving? Am I aligned with my values? This reduces the psychological need for constant company, because they're not using other people as mirrors to define themselves. Section 6. Selective social circles. One of the biggest misunderstandings. Highly intelligent people are not anti-relationship. They just prefer quality over quantity. They would rather have 2 real friends than 20 acquaintances, 1 deep conversation than 10 shallow ones, 1 authentic connection than 100 followers. This is why their social circle is small, not because they can't connect, but because they refuse to connect cheaply. Section 7. Sensitivity to noise and chaos. Many intelligent individuals are sensitive to overstimulation, crowds, noise, interruptions, constant notifications, chaotic environments. These environments drain them because they hijack attention, the very resource their brain values most. Solitude restores that resource. Section 8. Creative process. Solitude fuels creativity. Writers, thinkers, inventors, programmers, artists, they all require long periods of uninterrupted isolation, because creation demands deep focus, mental wandering, imagination, trial and error, introspection. This is why many creative breakthroughs happen alone, not during parties or meetings. Section 9. Emotional depth. Intelligent people tend to feel deeply, not just think deeply. They need solitude to process emotions, heartbreak, confusion, purpose, morality, existential questions. They don't escape their feelings, they dissect them. This emotional processing takes time, quiet, and privacy. Section 10. Why society misunderstands them. Society has a bias towards social extroversion. We reward networking, group participation, social charisma, constant availability. So when someone prefers solitude, people assume they're shy, they're cold, they're socially awkward, they must be lonely. But none of those have to be true. Sometimes the quietest minds are the richest. Section 11. The loneliness paradox. Here's the interesting part. Intelligent people enjoy being alone, but they still crave connection. Just not the diluted version most people settle for. They don't want attention. They want resonance. They don't want crowds. They want understanding. They don't want company. They want someone who speaks their language. Section 12. when solitude becomes a superpower. When embraced, solitude becomes a weapon. It sharpens thinking, strengthens identity, protects emotional energy, allows creativity to flourish, builds resilience, increases self-awareness. It's not an escape from life, it's preparation for it. So if you're someone who enjoys being alone, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're antisocial. It doesn't mean you're missing out. It might mean you're simply more intelligent, more curious, more self-aware, and more selective than the average person. Some minds aren't designed for the crowd. They're designed for depth. If this video made you feel understood, not entertained, but understood, like the video, subscribe to Unfiltered Mind Decoded. Because here, we don't just talk about psychology, we talk about the parts people actually live.